Welcome to the Nutrigenomic Nation podcast with Brian Highfield, certified nutritionist, author, speaker, and founder of multiple successful companies in the health world. Brian is known for educating healthcare professionals and others on improving their health and their life through breakthroughs in nutrition, technology, and biochemistry. On the podcast, Brian interviews thought leaders in the world of nutrition and natural health. He and his guests share the secrets of a whole life natural approach to health and the life-altering results you can get by making easy changes to your diet and daily routine.
Well, welcome to another episode of Nutrigenomic Nation. And so today we have a very special guest. We have Dr. Lourie. She's a dedicated practitioner with over 3 decades of clinical experience as a naturopath, an acupuncturist, and a homeopath. And she specializes in complex and chronic disease management. So welcome to the program, Dr. Lourie.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and happy to be here.
Awesome. Well, we want to get to know you a little bit. So can you give us a little bit about your background? I mean, why did you want to become a naturopathic doctor?
Well, I didn't really know that there was such a thing as naturopathic doctors. I had intended to go to medical school, and as my life had it, I had moved into this spiritual community in New York and found myself working for this very strange doctor in those days. This was in the 70s, who was doing detoxifying diets using iridology. Now, you have to understand that now when I say that and when you hear that, you go, oh, it's not a big deal. But in 1976, nobody even knew what the word detox was. Nobody had ever heard of iridology. And this was very far out of the box. And when I first started working there, I was in the medical model, and these people would come in with these diseases. I remember this young girl came in with really bad skin, and I thought, why is she here? You have acne, you take antibiotics. What is the big deal? And now when I say that, I think it's hysterically funny because I was very naive. Now I would never think of giving somebody antibiotics for skin problems. But over a month or so, I saw these people, they would come back and their skin would be cleared up. And these are people who had also been mistreated or misdiagnosed by the medical profession, and everybody was getting better. So this was my very amazing awakening to the beauty and the power of natural medicine and natural healing. And one day I was going through this very large pile of paperwork, and there was the catalog to the National College of Naturopathic Medicine. And I remember thinking, oh, maybe I should go here. So the universe had plans for me, and I'm really glad because the whole philosophy of what natural healing is really fits with what I believe is possible for people.
Awesome. So tell me, why do people seek you out? I mean, did they try the normal medical route and it just wasn't working for them? Or they tried everything and you're their last resort? I mean, or is it a mixed bag? I mean, why are people really seeking you out?
I think it's a mixed bag. I think when people have a chronic disease, the standard medical profession treats the disease. Oh, you have symptom A, here's drug B. Sometimes those drugs have pretty serious side effects, and always they're not addressing the underlying cause. So after being sick for a long time and taking certain medications, people think, well, maybe there's something else I can be doing. And where I live in East Bay of San Francisco, California, natural medicine is very well known. And thanks to the internet, I have people who would consult with me from all over the US and actually beyond. But I think people are really awakening to what more can I do? And especially with complex chronic disease, it's not just a pill. It's a whole program and a whole protocol that you need to support yourself. I'm not anti-drug. Sometimes drugs are really necessary, but let's make sure you're taking the minimal amount, the right drug at the right dose. And maybe, people come to me and they're on 7 drugs. That's a lot. Maybe we reduce some of those. Maybe we can change your diet, your lifestyle, and do some targeted supplementation. Let's get that number down from 7 to 2. That makes a big difference.
Oh, absolutely. And what you have a new patient come into your door, where do you start with them? And what is your protocol to begin if they come in with with that chronic condition. Where do you begin?
The news that nobody really thinks about is a chronic condition. You're diagnosed, let's say, last week. It didn't just show up last week. The seeds of that chronic illness started many years ago. So I start back many years ago. Sometimes I start back, like, tell me about your childhood. What were you like in college? And how were your 20s and 30s? And then somebody will go, oh, well, it couldn't be this. And it turns out that this was some major traumatic event that they had sort of put in a closet and closed the door. And now 25 years later, boom, it says, okay, here I am. What we can't handle in our bodies at the time gets stored in our cells. And when your body gets stressed out, that trauma comes out as an illness. So in my approach, I have a more feminine approach. It's not about attacking the disease. It's not about conquering. It's not a war. Who are we fighting with? Ourselves? It's really about getting quiet and listening. What's this illness saying to me about how did I get here? And most importantly, what do I need to do? And what can I do to recover my health?
Awesome. So you probably run them through some battery testing and things like that. You probably look through what they're eating nutritionally, what they're getting in nutrients. But tell me a little bit about that. I mean, show me the whole picture of getting the whole picture of that patient and what you do.
Well, people come in with blood work, and I have them through my secure electronic medical portal send me their records prior to our appointment so I can go over them. But I have 6 steps of integrative care, whether it's breast cancer or infertility or severe depression or Parkinson's or whatever. The first is we need to address the inflammatory process. Then we need to, because inflammation is the foundation of all illness. So we look at your, blood markers, and we look at, then we go into what are you eating? I just had a woman the other day. She had seen the nutritionist at the local cancer center who told her it was fine to start her day with cream of wheat. We're not going to even go into that. That was like, really? Okay, let's get started in a different direction. So we need to look at your nutrition. Nutrition is the soil of your life. How are you feeding your body? The standard American diet is not going to do it for anybody. Then we look at what supplements do you need. So I have people create a spreadsheet, the name of the company, the name of the product, and I guarantee you that 90% of what people have been bought from Costco, CVS, Trader Joe's, or even Whole Foods. They're not the right product made to pharmaceutical quality standards. They don't need them. So I really help condense that so they know that they're getting true pharmaceutical quality products that they need for themselves. Then we look at their lifestyle. I mean, being a couch potato is not going to do it for any of us. And at the end of this pandemic, I have to admit, I hadn't been doing my exercise as much as I should have, or wanted to. And when I started, it was 5 minutes in one direction and 5 minutes in the other direction. And now I'm up to 2.5 miles every day. So it takes a while. Lifestyle. What are the toxins that you're using in your home? What can you control? Your home is your sacred space. You can control 100% of that, except the air that you breathe, and then you can get air filters. But are you filtering your water? I just had a woman say to me, well, I buy water in plastic containers, and then I bring it home and put it in glass. And I went, wait, just a second. Those bottles could have been sitting in a warehouse 110 degrees, and all of that residue from the plastic is leaking into the water. So let's buy a water filter. We do that. And then a very big part of it for me is the emotional landscape. I really believe, and I've seen over treating thousands of people, that if we don't handle the emotions, if we don't incorporate healing emotionally, you can have a functional approach to recovering your health, but you're not going to truly recover your health. And that's my goal. Recover your health so you can restore your life. Now, recovery looks different for different people. I mean, some people, recovery means that they have an increased ability to have a nice day by 30%. That can be a lot. Some people, it means they're 90% quote better. It's really individual.
Yeah. And speaking of that, can you share with us maybe a success story of one of your patients coming in? Maybe just hope was running low and you really helped them really restore their life. Can you give us an example and share a success story?
Sure. I had a woman who was in her mid 40s who had a lot of anxiety, depression, insomnia, and hormonal imbalance. And I've been working with her 5.5 years now. And we discovered that the foundation of this for her was emotional childhood trauma and abuse. And so, of course, she's in therapy, but my component of it is her healing is the mind body incorporation. So we've been doing a lot of focusing on her hormonal balance, running a Dutch paddle, adjusting what she eats appropriately, as we doing homeopathic care, as we reduced her, as we brought out of the closet what the trauma was, her nighttime anxiety dramatically decreased and she began to sleep better. Now, when she first came to see me, she had quote unquote a nervous breakdown and she had Kaiser. So she was on a ton of medication. And now she's on a fifth of what she was on. So, she's still on some medication, but we're hoping that she will be able to get off of it. But, I'm not it's not black and white. It's not good, bad, right, wrong. She's much better than she was, and she's still on medication. Now, some people may think that that's not a success, but I think it is because she's feeling better.
Great. That's awesome. That's an awesome story for her. That's wonderful. Let's say you have the ears of tens of thousands of people. You're in a stadium and they're all wanting to know what are the keys to just living a long, healthy life, and you had the microphone. What would you say to that crowd?
I would say start listening to how you talk to yourself. Most people, especially Americans, aren't very kind to themselves. Oh, that was a stupid mistake. Oh, I should have. Why didn't I? Now, when I started to exercise and I realized it was the 5-minute out and 5-minute back moment, I could have said, oh, you're just a lazy slob. How did this happen? What's the matter with you? You're just a failure. Now, I could have done that, but I went, okay, I let myself go, as did a lot of people this past year. It was traumatic. And you're here, and let's be kind. And okay, 5 minutes out today is going to be 6 minutes out tomorrow. And that, especially women, it's like there's this perfectionist driven, and certain illnesses have certain disease miasms or energies to them. And cancer is one of them. It's drive, do. I have to do it right. I have to be a perfectionist. So I would say to your beautiful audience, start listening to how you talk to yourself, and you're going to be shocked. You're not kind to yourself. So it's a cognitive moment. Oh yeah, there I go again. Like, would you talk to somebody the way you talk to yourself? No. I hope not. So we have to reframe, like, okay, I'm not a failure. I'm not a jerk. I'm not lazy. This is where I am now. Let's talk to myself with kindness and love. Okay, let's just be positive. And what can we do? And it's deep, but it's also cognitive. And when you're changing a behavior, it takes energy to pick yourself up out of that rut and put yourself in a new rut. Just so when you're stressed, just know that you're going to go back to, quote, the old way. But after a couple weeks, after a couple months, every time you do it, oh, there I'm slipping into the old way. It gets easier to be kind and loving to yourself.
Yeah, I think most people don't realize that the negative self-talk, the way they talk to themselves in such a negative, and I've seen studies where even that some of the happiest people on the planet, when they measure the negative thoughts, negative self-talk versus positive, that it's heavily negative. We're very critical of ourselves. And I think the other part of that, to your point, is that not only has a huge impact on our emotions, but also a huge impact on our physical health.
Inflammation. They take blood work and they look at the difference between positive self moment and negative, and there are elevated inflammatory markers.
Wow. Yeah.
That's concrete evidence.
Yeah. Yeah, and we've had previous episodes too where we talked about, those how happiness can positively influence our epigenetics, at a epigenetic level, improving our health. It's so important, and I'm glad that you're incorporating that into your treatment. So, is there anything else our audience really, that you want to convey to our audience here? I mean, you have over 3 decades of experience. Is there anything we haven't talked about today that really they should understand?
The standard American diet is not your friend. That's very heavy. The standard American diet is not your friend. The more you can divorce yourself from that way of looking at food and eating, the healthier you will be. I mean, there's direct evidence that as we become more industrialized, our disease states have increased exponentially, especially cancer, cardiovascular disease. And on the other side of that is cultures which have a different way of eating, such as the Mediterranean style diet. They've researched thousands of people over 25 years, and they've seen lower cardiovascular disease, lower breast cancer, lower serious chronic illness, and longer longevity with health. So that is what I call the modified Mediterranean diet. The wonderful thing about that way of eating is it's very easy to incorporate. The food is delicious, it's seasonal, it's healthy, and it's good not just for you, but your entire family. So open up your cabinet in your kitchen and look at what kind of junk boxed food. Cereal is like eating cardboard with milk. Who wants to, and sugar. I mean, do you want to start your day with that? Do you want your children to be starting their day with cardboard and sugar? No, we're the only culture who does that.
Yeah, very, very important. So the good stuff. So last question for you, Dr. Lourie, is how can our audience get in touch with you or follow you?
Well, I have a Natural Healthcare and Healing Facebook page. I have my YouTube channel under Carol Lourie. I have my website, Carol Lourie, and my last name is spelled LOURIE.com. There's a contact me section there. I respond to every email I get personally. I do. So please reach out if you have any questions.
Awesome. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. Lourie. I hope you, our listener, enjoyed this episode of Nutrigenomic Nation, and join us next time when we discuss another topic related to your good health. Thank you again, Dr. Lourie.
Wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.